Welcome, everyone, and you are listening to The Last Dinosaur, and I'm your host, Chris Aversano. On today's edition of Tell Me More Tuesday, we're going to talk about a maritime topic that gets away from the charter party and into the actual evolution of shipping called ship-to-ship transfer, or STS. Our digital topic today is something that we've talked about a few times on the podcast, and that is artificial intelligence, or AI. This could be a big topic, so I'll give a short description, and we're going to talk about how it's being used today in the maritime industry. Let's start off first with ship-to-ship transfer. Ship-to-ship transfer is a somewhat common occurrence in shipping. While it can happen in dry bulk, mostly it's a tanker or sometimes gas evolution. The main reason for this to occur is that one ship, most of the time called the mothership, is loaded with a cargo and too deep to get into port. For example, this happens off the U.S. Gulf all the time. A VLCC will come in deeply laden with cargo, and they cannot get into a port on an appropriate draft, or even if they got in on that draft, let's say for Houston, there are no berths that can accommodate them. In order to offtake the cargo, there will be a series of ships that will come alongside and take the cargo for onward distribution. For a fully laden VLCCs, oftentimes this is for Aframaxes. This service is generally done by the lightering firms who coordinate the many moving parts. So they coordinate with the ship owner, the cargo owner, and everybody in between, including the Coast Guard and other people who kind of have oversight for this. This also includes the mooring masters and getting the fenders on. The fenders are giant objects that protect both ships. You can't have two metal ships banging up against each other in the middle of the ocean. Otherwise, there's going to be some damage. So they put fenders alongside, and these fenders are basically big rubber objects that absorb some of the shock. They only do this in relatively decent weather. You can't do this in heavy wind. There is such a thing called reverse lightering, where you have a large ship that gets loaded by smaller ships for onward shipping. Again, in the U.S. Gulf, you may have some U.S. Gulf based crude oil that we're exporting, and you have a VLCC, and those ships will take the cargo on board and just in the reverse manner from how they loaded cargo for import. It's basically the same idea, but in reverse. It has been a little bit in the news lately now that vessels are carrying sanctioned cargoes and they're doing illegal STS operations in various parts of the world. If you Google this, I'm sure you can come up with a few articles. I noticed one this morning that I believe Lloyd's Maritime published something either this morning as I record this here on Saturday, the 5th of November, or around that time. So definitely worth a look. This does, again, happen in dry bulk a little less often. Let's talk about AI. In this section, I'm going to talk about AI, and then we're going to talk about how it's applied in the maritime industry. Okay, let's start off with a definition. I found a good one on Investopedia, so I'm going to refer to that. AI refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think like humans and mimic their actions. The term may also be applied to any machine that exhibits traits associated with human minds, such as learning and problem solving. And they talk about a subset, machine learning, which refers to the concept that computer programs can automatically learn from and adapt to new data without being assisted by humans. Deep learning techniques enable this automatic learning through the absorption of huge amount of unstructured data, such as text, images, or video. Again, this is a lot to take on board, but in short, it's a way to teach technology to think for us. Good, bad. When I personally think of AI, I think of the Terminator movies and Skynet. Well, that didn't end up pretty well for humanity, but maybe we can go down a different path. I'll leave all that to the philosophers who study all of this. But right now, let's talk about how it's used in shipping. First, one of the most prominent ways is autonomous shipping. Companies like Sea Machine Robotics are using this technology now in their products, and that it's allowing for a level of autonomy for ships. They're testing it. It's ongoing right now. I talked to product manager Artie Seaman in episode 5 just about this. But an interesting point that came up was the ability for AI to augment what the seafarer is already doing and always keeping a level of the human in the loop. Environmental emissions part of shipping is ripe for the AI sector. In episode 4, I spoke with Darren Shelton about some AI that he's using for fuel evaluation and how that can help not only reduce emissions, but have a better idea on how to burn your fuels from an efficiency point of view. Talk about weather routing is another place where AI can help because there's so much data. Anytime you have a lot of data, you can get AI involved. Finally, vessel tracking, in other words, where cargo is going and how cargo trade is happening, is another use for AI, but also tracking sanctioned vessels. In episode 8, I interviewed Matan Palad of Windward, whose firm is one of the leaders in this area. And what's interesting, they track ships that are doing STS transfer, our topic for the day in the maritime side. The list goes on, but one thing for sure is that shipping industry is ripe for involvement from AI or its subset MI. Stay tuned for more guests that will cover that topic. I'm sure we'll have plenty. I hope you enjoyed these short podcasts and this installment of Tell Me More Tuesday. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to the podcast. If you have a question or topic, drop me an email at thelastdinosaurpod@gmail.com.